Critics' Choice is finally happening this Friday on Netflix from 6 to 9 p.m., and I'm here to break down all 19 of the film categories and give you my predictions. Every year, there's some sort of shocker that Critics' Choice likes to throw in, and I've got some shockers for you, so make sure you stay tuned in till the end, and let's get started. I am going to do all 19 categories because I feel that they're all important, and especially considering some of those, like tech below the line categories, haven't had any precursors, so we don't really have anything to go off of. And Critics' Choice is by far the best barometer for Oscar predictions. Now, I know some people are going to be like, that's not actually true, Lisa. Well, statistics don't lie, and I've got some statistics for you because y'all know I love me some stats. So here's my statistics. Since the Critics' Choice Awards got created 29 years ago, they have ended up picking the Oscar winner for 17 of the Best Pictures, 24 of the directors, 19 of the actors in both a supporting and a leading role, 16 for actresses in a lead role, and 20 times for actresses in a supporting role. And another interesting fact is that the Critics' Choice tend to be the ones that kind of throw us some shockers or surprises in there. 8 of the times the Critics' Choice have ended up picking a different director than they did picture. The most recent time that happened was in 2020 when they chose Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for Best Picture, and then they had a tie for Boon Joon-ho for Parasite and Sam Mendes for 1917. So, could we see that happen again this year? It's definitely a possibility. Beyond this award season just being crazy and the fact that we don't have like kind of a predicted front runner when it comes to a lot of the categories. Granted, we do have a few what I call shoe-ins all the way through, but Critics' Choice can surprise us. We do need to remember, though, this is a completely different voting body. So, it's 575 people, and they're made up of like journalists, online influencers, people who reach large audiences in the film and television community. So that does make a difference. I think like 62% or something are male, and then you have 19% that are LGBTQ, 24% are people of color. So it is a diverse makeup. However, it is made up of critics, journalists, things like that that are inside of that sphere of the film television world. And there is absolutely zero crossover between Academy voters for the Oscars and Critics' Choice voters. So, how come the Critics' Choice can be such a great barometer for the Oscars? Who knows? Maybe it's because in other years past we've had kind of front runners. Maybe they get lucky. I don't know. But let's also recall that this awards ceremony was supposed to happen way back in January, but due to the LA fires, it got delayed. So everybody's already voted for Critics' Choice. That voting ended on January 12th. So all of this controversy that's happening with Carla Sofia Gascon and Amelia Perez and all the AI stuff that's happening with The Brutalist, nobody knows any of that before these awards were voted on. And I am probably going to do a video on the whole Gascon and Amelia Perez controversy. I'm not going to reiterate what like everybody else is talking about. I'm going to take a little bit different of a spin on it. So please make sure you like, subscribe, and click that little bell to get notified when I release that video. But you know what? The votes are in. They're locked down. Chelsea Handler is going to present them come Friday night on Netflix. So let's get to it. And we're going to get into these 19 categories. I'm going to give you all the nominees, and then I'm going to give you my two, my winner and then my runner-up. And then you guys put in the comments who you guys are thinking and why, because I love to hear that kind of understanding as to why everyone's picking who they're picking. Reminder, there is no sound category in Critics' Choice. They already gave out their documentary, feature film, and short features, so those ones are not in here either. And then we will talk about cast ensemble, even though there isn't a category for that in the Oscars. So let's start out with kind of those below the line tech categories, and we'll start out with cinematography. So the nominees for cinematography are Nosferatu, Wicked, The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, and Nickel Boys. Dudes, nothing like starting out with a tough category. I mean, we had some amazing films this award season when it came to cinematography. And you know what? Obviously, between ACE, which is the American Cinema Editors Awards, and the BAFTA nominations and the Oscar nominations, people cannot agree because out of these 6 for Critics' Choice, 5 of the 6 were nominated by ACE. Nickel Boys, the only list Nickel Boys made, just a little FYI, was this list. So does that mean that somehow Critics' Choice thinks that they're that amazing that they're going to award them? No, I don't think so. Like Nickel Boys would be my 6th pick. But I mean, only 3 of these 6 made the Oscar list, right? And that was Nosferatu, The Brutalist, and Dune Part 2. Then the Oscars nominated Maria and Emilia Perez. Emilia Perez also made the BAFTA list, and BAFTA nominated Conclave, but the Oscars didn't. So it's all sorts of all over the place, right? And that's what makes it hard when it comes to deciding. Obviously, the professionals are divided, so where that leaves the rest of us, I don't know. I guess I kind of have to go with my gut and a little bit of research. So, looking at everything, the ACE Awards, Oscar nominations, BAFTA, and what I've been seeing, I mean, let's be real, guys. BAFTA, every nomination that Nosferatu was longlisted for, they ended up getting so many tech categories. Runner up in this one, I'm going to go Dune Part 2, and I'm not giving it the win because you know what? It was nominated in the first one for cinematography back in 2022, and it didn't win, so I don't think it's going to win this. I'm just going to go with Nosferatu because I think it's got the momentum, and I think it has some great cinematography. I was finally able to watch it, and it does blow your mind. So that's who I'm going with, Nosferatu for the win in cinematography. Now, moving on to costume design. The nominees in this category are Conclave, Nosferatu, Maria, Wicked, Dune Part 2, and Gladiator 2. Okay, 4 out of 6 of these were nominated for an Oscar, and that was Conclave, Gladiator 2, which, by the way, Gladiator 2, all it got for an Oscar nomination was costume design, so I guess, is that telling us something? I don't know. The other 2 nominated for Oscars were Wicked and Nosferatu. Okay, again, though, the Critics' Choice voters did not know who was nominated for the Oscars at that point, right? Because those didn't come out until January 23rd, and they stopped voting on January 12th. So you can't really take that into account, but I just want to give you guys kind of some of that information. When I looked at it, I think hands down, looking at the ones that when I look at these films, I just think one stands out above all of them. And probably some of you are going to be like, Lisa, yes, Wicked. We all know you love Wicked. You're going to pick Wicked for everything, which isn't true. I think I'm open-minded when it comes to who I'm going to pick and why. But when you look at this category right now and its competition, Wicked for me stands out. Like Wicked is the winner, and the only one that I even have coming close to it would be Nosferatu, because I think Conclave, yes, the costume design is great. However, it's kind of all the same. Gladiator 2, you know what? You were nominated in 2001. You didn't win then. I don't think you're going to win now. And Dune Part 2, heck, Dune Part 1 wasn't even nominated for costume. So really, what makes us think that they're going to give it the win? I mean, I guess I think it should be lucky it even got the nomination. So I got to go with Wicked when it comes to this one. Film editing is the next category, and we actually have 2 films in here that aren't appearing on a whole lot of lists, and one of which isn't appearing anywhere on the Oscar list. So here it is. The nominees for film editing, Critics' Choice, are Anora, Challengers, Conclave, The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, and September 5. Thank goodness some film bodies are recognizing the movie Challengers. Yep. Thanks again, Golden Globes, for giving it the score win. But Oscars, you suck. You snubbed them. You gave them 0. And that is totally unacceptable. But you know what, Critics' Choice, you put them in here. And rightfully deserved. I mean, when I watched that movie, for those of you who have watched my other videos, I've said the editing is stellar in it. I mean, you are the racket, you are the ball, everything. You're right there. The point of view, I mean, the editing and the flashbacks, and yet you don't get lost in it, I think is remarkable. And to be honest, yes, it does have some really stiff competition in this category. Yet, you know what? Give Challengers the win. They deserve it. My runner-up in this one, to me, would be Conclave. I think that critics aren't really going to give it to Anora because any time in which a director does their own editing, people tend to kind of be like, we're not going to give you it in editing. In this category, only 3 of the nominees got an Oscar nomination, and only 3 of these nominees got a BAFTA nomination. However, out of those 3, only 2 of them got both, and that was Sean Baker for Anora and Nick Emerson for Conclave. So I think it comes down to one of those 2, and that's why That's why I think it comes down to those two when it comes to runner up. I just think that Challengers is going to end up taking it. And this might be, again, me thinking more with my heart than my head, because at the end of the day, maybe they go Conclave first and Anora as the runner up. But I've got to believe that if the Critics' Choice people put Challengers on this list, they've seen the film, they appreciate the editing that's been done, they're going to give it here. And you know what? BAFTA snubbed them, didn't even put it on the long list. Oscars snubbed them entirely. So you know what? Give Challengers Critics' Choice, and then let Conclave and Anora fight it out with the Oscars, which we will have our Oscar prediction video where we talk about all 23 of the categories. But for now, I'll keep you guys waiting on who I pick for it for the Oscars. But I got to go Challengers. I loved it. And then, Conclave, not because Honora's not good, but I just think, Sean Baker, you did your own editing. Yes, I get it, to save money, but they're probably not going to actually award you with the win when it comes to that. So the next category is makeup and hairstyling. The nominees in this category are Beetlejuice, Dune Part 2, The Substance, Wicked, Nosferatu, A Different Man. This category is also funny because you had 4 of the 6 get Oscar nominations. You had 4 of the 6 get BAFTA nominations. However, only 3 of those 4 got both. And so the difference between them was BAFTA did Dune Part 2 and the Oscars did A Different Man. And of course, BAFTA and the Oscars both did Amelia Perez. But at the end of the day, I don't think it matters who they put in this category. I think The Substance takes it. And second to that would be A Different Man, just because, holy cow, the remarkable makeup that they did on Sebastian Stan is incredible. The film is very, they're right on dark comedy, but it is a great performance by all parties involved and great makeup and hair. But come on. I mean, really, can you beat The Substance? The entire last third of the movie speaks to makeup. So let's just be honest. Hairstyling is kind of out of it. Lately, everything is about prosthetics, and prosthetics is The Substance. Okay, next category, production design. Okay, anyone who knows me knows hashtag Nathan Crowley first Oscar win. But will I still pick them when it comes to Critics' Choice? I don't know. Let's get into it. The nominees for production design are, this category is the one category where both the Oscars and BAFTA chose the exact same 5, and those 5 are on the Critics' Choice list. The film that both groups left off was Gladiator 2, and I don't even know why Critics' Choice put it on there. But that means that these 5 for production design are very solid. And you know what? I've been calling it since the beginning, since November 22nd, and I'm going to keep calling it. I don't think there's any competition. Well, I mean, there is. I'm just trying to be like open-minded and positive, but I got to go ahead and I got to give this win to Nathan Crowley for the production design for Wicked. I mean, hashtag Nathan Crowley first Oscar win. I think that he deserves it. And you know what? Critics' Choice, if we're really looking at how many nominations and how loved the Critics' Choice group thought Wicked was, Wicked and Conclave both tied with 11 nominations. So they love it. And I mean, how do you not give the win to Nathan Crowley for Wicked? I mean, the guy literally planted 9 million tulips just so that they would look real. Like, come on, guys. And then he built Munchkin Land, Shiz University, he built Emerald City. And it's not to take away anything else from these remaining movies. I just think that in a year like this and looking at everything that he did for Wicked, and I don't want to hear all of this crap about, well, we'll honor him on the second one because he's going to do production design for that also. You know what? Guys, individual films. We have to honor people for the individual films. So I think it's going to be Nathan Crowley for Wicked. Runner up to me in this category would be Conclave. I think that what they did with the amount of space they had and basically kind of building everything like a little Tetris maze, fitting everything all in together, where they would go from like the residence where all the cardinals stayed to then into the chapel and then the outside. I mean, it's beautiful. And not to take away from like Dune Part 2 and Nosferatu and The Brutalist, which is about an architect, so therefore everything had to be built through like the mind of an architect by somebody who wasn't an architect. So it's beautiful. It's brilliant. And Gladiator 2, you know what? I get it. It's not horrible. You were nominated back in 2001 for the first one. You didn't win it then. Like, just take your nom here because you didn't get it in BAFTA or Oscars. So, you know what? I wouldn't be disheartened if any of these 5 won, except for I really think Nathan Crowley deserves it. So, yep, I'm going to stick with Wicked on this one. And yeah, I don't really think there's much that could change my mind from the Crowley win. So, yeah, that's pretty much a Lisa lockdown one. Like, yep, that's not going anywhere. So, got Crowley in for that. Now, moving on to visual effects. The nominees in this category are Gladiator 2, Wicked, Dune Part 2, Better Man, The Substance, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Here's a category that BAFTA nailed. Yep, all 5 of their nominees are on this list. They did not nominate The Substance, which neither did the Oscars. And the Oscars didn't nominate Gladiator 2 and in its place put Alien Romulus, which I know a lot of people will disagree with. However, if you watch Alien Romulus, it really does have some pretty dope visual effects. Especially, let's be honest, the birthing scene. It's kind of cray-cray, but really good visual effects. So where does that leave me now when it comes to prediction time, right? Because Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I mean, they got the nomination. All of their predecessor ones got nominations. Only one of them has ever won. So I think you kind of have to leave that one out from the win, right? Then you've got Dune Part 2. I mean, Dune Part 1 won the Critics' Choice Visual Effects back in 2022. So would it have a repeat? Then you've got, another monkey movie competition with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. You've got Better Man. I'm a monkey man. I mean, dude, Robbie Williams throughout the whole movie is a monkey. Well, a chimpanzee. But still, I mean, that's some pretty dope visual effects. And it is nominated for an Oscar. So that could also be in contention. And then I do love Wicked. I thought Wicked would get a visual effects nomination for the Oscars. It did. I think what they did is remarkable. With the CGI, the visual effects, it's beautiful. I just think even though Wicked did get 11 nominations, Dune Part 2 came really close and got 10. I think Critics' Choice are going to stick with Dune in this category. I think that when they think of Dune, they think of visual effects. However, if they are going to lose to somebody, I think they will lose to Wicked. That's who I've got as runner-up. But you know what? Getting the back-to-back dubs is Dune Part 2. Moving on to the 2 music categories, we've got score and song. So let's start with score because this is the one where BAFTA and the Oscars could agree on 4 of the nominations. So the nominees for Best Original Score are Volker Brudelman, Conclave, Daniel Blumberg, The Brutalist, Chris Bowers, The Wild Robot, Clement DeCall and Camille for Amelia Perez, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for Challengers, Hans Zimmer for Dune Part 2. Okay, so this category, actually BAFTA and the Oscars agree on 4 out of 5 of them. Now, obviously, for some odd reason, beyond Golden Globes, who, thank you, gave Challengers the win and Critics' Choice nominating them, no one else seems to be recognizing the Challengers score. And Dune Part 2 is not eligible for the Oscars because too much of the music used in the second one came from the first one, so it was considered ineligible, which still seems a little bit odd. And by the way, I mean, Hans Zimmer did just win a Grammy for it, but he can't win the Oscar. Again, this voting ended before the Grammys got announced, so that's no impact on the Critics' Choice Awards. Where the Oscars and BAFTA differ are that the Oscars put in Wicked, BAFTA put in Nosferatu. That leaves us with the core 4, right? Conclave, The Brutalist, The Wild Robot, and Amelia Perez. Those obviously are the strongest ones out there, right? Obviously, nominated for a BAFTA, nominated for an Oscar. However, I just think when we look at Critics' Choice and we're thinking about that voting block of 575 people, I think you've got to go Challengers. I get it. No one else wants to recognize it except for the Globes, but I think Critics' Choice will also do what the Globes did, and they will give Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross the win here. I mean, to me, that score makes that movie. If you would try to watch that movie without that score, I just don't think it's the same film. If, however, for some odd reason, it doesn't end up getting the Critics' Choice, the runner-up in this situation will probably end up being Dune Part 2 because people knew that it wasn't eligible for the Oscars, so maybe they were like, oh, let's throw Hans Zimmer a bone and we'll give him this, even though Hans Zimmer really doesn't need any bones. Like, he's won plenty enough awards in his life. But you know what? That's the only thing that I could see beating Challengers. Again, though, I could be voting with my heart instead of my head, and that could end up biting me in the ass. But you know what? we'll give it a try because I believe in the Challenger's score. Now, when we look at Best Original Song, oh my gosh, way off between the Oscars and the Critics' Choice nominations. So, Critics' Choice does 6, Oscars does 5. The 6 songs that Critics' Choice nominated were Beautiful That Way from The Last Showgirl, Compress Repress from Challengers, El Mal from Amelia Perez, Harper and Will Go West from Will and Harper, Kiss the Sky from The Wild Robot, and Mi Camino from Amelia Perez. This list might sound very similar to the Golden Globes list because Golden Globes also could have 6, just like Critics' Choice. However, in between the Globes and Critics' Choice, it has been deemed that the song Forbidden Road from the movie Better Man is not eligible anymore. Basically, because they figured out it wasn't written originally for the movie Better Man. I guess, and that is a rule. I mean, that's why, Gangster's Paradise by Coolio can't and wasn't nominated for Best Original Song for Dangerous Minds, even though it's a fabulous song. It's because it wasn't written specifically for the movie. So Forbidden Road is out, and then in its place is Will and Harper Go West from the documentary Will and Harper. Think it's great they got a nomination. Doesn't stand a chance. I mean, honestly, I don't think anything this season is going to beat El Mal from Amelia Perez. I don't even care how much controversy is out there. I think that people just are going to end up giving it to El Mal, even though out of all of the songs in all the movies this award season, I don't think that it is the strongest song out of all of them. So, you know what? I think that's where they're going to go. I mean, honestly, I don't think the only other one that I would see that could maybe potentially beat it would be Kiss the Sky from the Wild Robot. Maybe, unless, of course, they did Beautiful That Way from The Last Showgirl is something different, but really, it's going to be El Mal. The only thing that I think might end up beating El Mal will be at the Oscars, and that will be the song Journey from Diane Warren from the film The Six Triple Eight. Only because Diane Warren has been nominated now 16 times and never won. And so maybe the controversy will end up kicking Amelia Perez's ass and they will give it to Diane Warren, which I hope isn't the reason they give it to her because, I mean, one, it's a fabulous song and it's Diane Warren, so they should give it to her for that reason, not just because they're mad at Amelia Perez. They should not give it to El Mal because it's not the best song. But I digress. And we'll talk about the Amelia Perez controversy in the next couple days. So again, make sure to like and subscribe and click the notification button because there's a lot of things we need to discuss about that maybe other videos aren't necessarily talking about. But if you guys think anything else can beat El Mal, please let me know. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking. Now let's get into the 2 categories that they have only at Critics' Choice and not at the Oscars. We'll do Best Casting and Ensemble, which they also have at BAFTA. And I think that the Oscars are getting Best Casting, ensemble thing, either next year or maybe the year after that. So we'll look for more to come on that one. This year's nominees for Best Acting Ensemble are Anora, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Saturday Night, Sing Sing, and Wicked. Okay, again, Saturday Night, I mean, it's nice that it got, some Critics' Choice and Golden Globe nominations. It's a good movie, but definitely not Oscar worthy. I don't think Sing Sing has enough oomph to actually get an award like this. And Anora, I'm still shocked that it ended up getting in acting ensemble. So that leaves us with 3. And I mean, 3 pretty decent ones. Again, Amelia Perez, it's a story about 4, women, and this was voted on before the controversy, but I still don't think it had a chance of winning, which leaves us with Conclave and Wicked, both having stellar casts. I mean, Conclave, you've got John Lithgow, Ray Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, Isabella Rossellini, and it's a great movie, right? But I don't know that it can compete with Wicked when it comes to cast. I mean, obviously Critics' Choice loves both of those movies. It gave both of those movies 11 nominations, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. When it comes to Wicked, the cast made that movie. That cast is so flippin' phenomenal. It is ridiculous. I mean, seriously, it makes the whole movie. Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater. I mean, Michelle Yeoh, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, then you've got Peter Dinklage as the voice of Dr. Dillamond. I mean, and Bowen Yang is in there. So great cast. I think that the edge has to go to Wicked when it comes down to it. And will this be kind of like the Globes, how the Globes gave the Popcorn Award to Wicked and didn't give them Best Picture? Will they end up giving acting ensemble to Wicked in place of Best Picture? Probably. So, all right, that's who I've got going on there. Now, let's get into Best Comedy Film. This one is done at the Globes and then also obviously Critics' Choice, but nowhere else. So, the nominations for Best Comedy Film are A Real Pain, Deadpool and Wolverine, Hitman, My Old Ass, Saturday Night, and Thelma. We haven't gotten to Best Picture yet, so I'll just, spoiler alert, A Real Pain did not get nominated for Best Picture. So if it's going to win, this would be where it would win or in Best Original Screenplay. However, I think that this is probably, if they wanted to honor Jesse Eisenberg, this is where they would do it. Deadpool and Wolverine, along with Hitman, were nominated at the Globes. I think great, you got the nomination. Now, My Old Ass, I had never heard about until the director, Megan Park, got nominated by the Directors Guild Association for Best Director in a First-Time Feature Film, which I don't think she's going to win because Ramel Ross from Nickel Boys is in that same category, and critics and everybody is loving Nickel Boys and loves Ramel Ross, but not enough to really get them a lot of nominations, but that's a whole other story. So I think Ramel Ross is going to end up getting that win. And oh yeah, DGA and PGA award ceremonies are on Saturday night. So I'm going to try to release like a 5-7 minute video giving my predictions here tomorrow, maybe Friday morning. So make sure, like, subscribe, click the little button, because yeah, so much stuff is going to be happening in the next couple weeks. But so you've got My Old Ass in there, and then you've got Saturday Night, which, well, we already mentioned that one. And then you've got Thelma. And I don't know if you guys remember me talking about this when it came to the Golden Globes and things like that, but June Squibb is in Thelma. And let's be honest, like, I would just love to see Thelma win, to watch her get up there and talk. Because, usually when a picture wins, they bring up, a lot of the main cast. I mean, come on. And if you guys have not seen Thelma, watch it. You will laugh and you will be like, June Squibb, you should get something. So I'm happy that it's in here. I don't think, however, that it's going to end up winning. I don't think it's going to garner enough votes to kind of make it up there. I think that we're going to see Jesse Eisenberg honored in this category for A Real Pain. So runner up, maybe Thelma. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that there will really be an upset, but we got to pick a runner up, don't we? Don't we? I mean, okay, we will. But now moving on to Best International Feature Film. Oh, wait, sorry. It's called Best Foreign Language Film. I always screw that one up. So this category has 6 nominations. Those nominees are All We Imagine Is Light, Amelia Perez, Blow, I'm Still Here, Kneecap, The Seed of the Sacred Fig. Okay, awesome job, Critics' Choice, because you were the first ones to do it. You did it before the Oscars, and that is amazing. And that is putting Flow not only in animated feature film, which is the next category we'll talk about, but they put it in for international feature film, which so did the Oscars, which is so flippin' cool. I mean, I just love Flow. I think it's such a great movie. And honestly, the whole message about climate change, like, if you didn't even know that, you can still enjoy the film, right? Those little subliminal messages out there are fabulous in animated movies, but sorry, I digress. So here we go. What do I think about this category? First off, All We Imagine Is Light. I mean, it got Best International Feature Film nomination in the Golden Globe, and then the director, Payal Kapadi, got nominated for the Globe, but nothing really came of that, so nothing's going to come of it here. And let's be honest, it couldn't be nominated for an Oscar because India screwed up again and didn't put it in as its country submission. Instead, they put La Padaya Ladies or something like that. It's about 2 women on a train. Like, whatever, dude, you didn't even make the short list, India, so you kind of messed up there. And then you've got Seed of the Sacred Fig, which at one time was being talked about as potentially a Best Picture option, but that fell wayside very early on. Kneecap did get a BAFTA nomination, not an Oscar nomination, but, I mean, dude, it's about an Ireland rapping band. How could it not get the BAFTA nomination? But didn't get the Oscar nomination. I don't think it's going to end up winning here, even though, people like it. I just don't think that many people like it. And then there's Flow. That could potentially, no, it's not going to be the upset. I wish I could say it would be, but you know what? This was all voted like pre-controversy, pre-Oscar nomination. So I think the battle comes down to Amelia Perez and I'm Still Here. Obviously, nobody knew that Amelia Perez was going to, kind of burn in flames like it did. And nobody knew that I'm Still Here was going to take the rise up it did. I mean, dude, it got nominated for Best Picture. And beyond Fernanda Torres winning the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Leading Role Drama, she's now nominated for Best Actress in a Leading Role for the Oscars. So obviously, people like it. They voted for it. But I think when it came down to Critics' Choice, I think they're going to end up going with Amelia Perez, which is a little bit baffling if you think about it, because if Critics' Choice is really supposed to be how critics feel, and the Rotten Tomatoes score is a critics' rating also, how can they let Amelia Perez win when it has a 75% Rotten Tomatoes rating and I'm Still Here has a 95% Rotten Tomatoes rating and Flow has a 98% Rotten Tomatoes rating? So, you know what? Obviously, Critics' Choice, you gotta figure out your shit. But Amelia Perez is gonna win with potentially runner-up being I'm Still Here. Animated feature film. Oh, yeah. Okay. This, predominantly every awards has agreed on these 5, except for BAFTA, because BAFTA only has 4, which if anyone knows why BAFTA only has 4, if you could put it in the comments and let me know, I would love to find out because it baffles me. But the 5 nominations that we have for Best Animated Feature Film are Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, The Wild Robot. These are the 5 that the Oscars have. The 4 that BAFTA have, the one that they left off was Memoir of a Snail, which, by the way, is an R-rated movie, and it is really flippin' good. But I don't think, obviously, it's going to win. I mean, if we think about it, Wallace and Gromit, usually when they're nominated, they win. But the category this year is just so tough. I mean, Inside Out 2 has made more money than anything ever, beating Frozen, right? Early on in the award season, all of the talk about the most popular animated movie ever and how emotional it is, which it is, by the way, if you haven't seen The Wild Robot, it breaks your little heart, but it is so heartwarming and loving. Everybody would have thought The Wild Robot was going to sweep. And honestly, I picked The Wild Robot to win at the Golden Globes, even though I love Flo. I will always love Flo. Even though my cats, Sprout and Dak, get super jealous every time I talk about Flo, especially Dak because he's a black cat, and I think he's jealous because Flo is also a black cat, but whatever, they can live in their jealousy. But honestly, I didn't think Flo would end up beating The Wild Robot, and it did. So I'm sorry that I didn't believe in the Latvian film Flo enough, but I'm going to believe in it this time. And so I am picking Flo to win animated feature film for the Critics' Choice Awards. And as usual, make sure to get your pets spayed and neutered. We do that for Flo. We have to, guys. Control the animal population. Okay, here we are into the top 8, what they call above the line categories for the Oscars. And we're going to start out with writing for adapted screenplay. The nominees for Critics' Choice Best Adapted Screenplay are Amelia Perez, Wicked, Sing Sing, Nickel Boys, Conclave, Dune Part 2. Adapted screenplay, this is a tough one for me. Honestly, because you look at precursor award shows, you look at kind of the talk that's happening now, even though they didn't know about that at the time they voted. I mean, talk's been going on for a while, right? So if we think about this, 4 of these 6 were nominated for the Oscar. And honestly, I never expected Wicked to be nominated for the Oscar, which it wasn't. I mean, I'm sorry, but anytime something goes from a book to a play to then a movie, they usually don't tend to recognize it. But it is recognized here. Dune Part 2 didn't get recognized by the Oscars. So because Critics' Choice put it in here, will they end up honoring it? I honestly don't think so. I mean, if we look at the way the Golden Globes went, and again, they combine their adaptive and original screenplays into one category, and in that one, Conclave won. I mean, and you cannot go wrong with Conclave. I mean, that is a brilliant movie. And again, I'm going to say it, pre-controversy, post-controversy, I don't think Amelia Perez, when it came to adapted screenplay, stood a chance in this category, because I think at the end of the day, if they're going to go kind of out there on a limb and not go with Conclave, I think they'd end up going Nickel Boys, just because it is a well talked about, critically acclaimed movie in the early part of the award season. So who did the Oscars nominate? In their fifth spot, they went with Complete Unknown, which is doing phenomenally well. However, when it comes to screenplay, I don't see it winning here. So I've got winning Conclave, and if you guys watch my BAFTA nomination, predictions video, I picked Conclave for a lot of categories because I do believe in that movie, and I do believe in it here. And I think even if it hadn't won the Golden Globes, when you look at who it's up against right now, like I said, I think its biggest competition is Nickel Boys. I know that people like Sing Sing, and I mean the story that's being told, and Clarence Macklin is part of the adapted screenplay because it's a story because it's about his life, and he is nominated in the Best Supporting Actor category. However, I just don't think that it holds a candle to Nickel Boys or Conclave. So Conclave is kind of up here, and then, maybe rounding the second corner while Conclave is finishing, we have Nickel Boys. So I do believe in Conclave. Again, we'll see. I could end up being wrong, and if it bites me in the ass, I guess we might be reconsidering my BAFTA and Oscar predictions. But Best Original Screenplay is the next category, and this year we had a lot of great possibilities, and we did end up with a lot of good nominations. So Critics' Choice nominated for Best Original Screenplay: Anora, September 5, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, The Substance, Challengers. Yes, you're probably thinking, well, Lisa, we know what you're going to pick because Challengers finally got a nomination. You're going to put it in there. And I was very, very upset on my live reactions video for Oscars nomination day that Challengers didn't make it in, because I do think it deserved a nomination. However, it didn't get an Oscar nomination. The other 5 of these 6 did end up securing the Oscar nomination. So where does that leave me, right? Anora, it's a great screenplay. It's a great movie. I still don't know, though, how much the Academy wants to honor a film about a sex worker, which is totally unfortunate. And I still think I have to make my video talking about Anora in more depth. Oh, and I almost forgot, BAFTA, they left off September 5 and they replaced it with Kneecap, which, not surprising, right? September 5 versus Kneecap, the Irish band. That leaves us with our real competition coming down to A Real Pain, which, again, critics, which I think we're going to see A Real Pain do different at the SAG Awards, right? Screen Actors Guild, because actors on actors. I don't know that Critics' Choice is going to give Jesse Eisenberg original screenplay here. I do think that's why they're going to give him best comedy pick. So that leaves us with The Brutalist or The Substance. And you know what? I get it. Everybody is kind of like loving The Brutalist and having all of these like, oh my gosh, it's your typical like Oscar movie. Well, that's fine, but this is Critics' Choice. And honestly, after the Globes and seeing that people are being like, you know what? We don't care that it's body horror. We're going to honor The Substance. So you know what? I think they're going to give Coralie Farjat her shout out here, and they're going to give her the win for Best Original Screenplay, with runner-up being Mona Fastbald and Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. The next category we're going to talk about is Best Director. I like to talk about director, then talk about actors, then we'll move into picture. Now, again, if somebody can explain this to me, I would love to know, why in the world does Critics' Choice nominate 8 directors? I mean, seriously, what are we thinking? You don't really help in narrowing down in an already very wide open space where we might want a little direction maybe, but oh no, you give us 8 nominees. And those nominees are Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez, Sean Baker for Anora, Edward Berger for Conclave, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, John M. Chu for Wicked, Coralie Farjat for The Substance, Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys, and Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. In looking at these 8, I really had to think about precursors, Critics' Choice voting body, kind of what they're maybe looking at, right? Because, you think about it. well, not self-finance, but he had to go out and get the financing. He made a 3.5 hour movie out of $10 million. He gave his speeches at the Golden Globes, right? So you got Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, who most people are thinking is the favorite. Jacques Audiard's kind of out of it. I mean, I think, Jesse Eisenberg, as we already talked about, for A Real Pain, kind of out of it. Ramel Ross, as much as he's critically loved, not going to get it. The directors will honor him at that DGA. Coralie Farjad, I think they give her shout out in Best Original Screenplay. Sean Baker is going to end up getting pigeonholed by the fact of his sex worker picture, Honora. And so then where does that leave us? Well, you got Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2, who the Oscars just keep leaving out. But I have to sit there and look at, okay, he was nominated in 2022 for Dune Part 1, and they didn't give him the win, so why would they give it to him here? I mean, if they're doing what the Oscars supposedly are doing, and that's, holding off on everything until the end and then going to give it to him after Part 3, well, they're definitely not going to give it to him here. So, okay, that leaves Edward Berger for Conclave, which, by the way, he did not get the Best Director nomination for the Oscars, which I don't understand. I mean, of all the people, you end up putting James Mangold for Complete Unknown in over him, but all right, my anger can subside for a little bit. Then you've got John Chu for Wicked, which, they loved Wicked more than they loved The Brutalist. Well, by nominations anyway, 11 for Wicked, 9 for The Brutalist. But I think as much as they love Wicked, they're not going to give John M. Chu the director nomination because they're going to hold this, kind of his past movies against him, which sucks because really, Critics' Choice, you should be going for a movie that's critically liked. But in all honesty, if we look at Rotten Tomatoes, The Brutalist is scoring better than Wicked because I think Wicked is at 88% and The Brutalist is at 93%. But all right, so this award is going to end up going to Brady Corbet with, if I keep my fingers crossed, maybe an upset with Edward Berger, but you know what? I think unfortunately he's not going to end up getting the recognition that he so vastly deserves. Brady Corbet is going to end up winning this. Now let's get into the acting categories. Best Actor in a Supporting Role. This was one of the two categories that I think is going to sweep, right? So I've said it since before the Globes. The Globes kind of solidified it, and then he's continuing to get in these nominations is Kieran Culkin. However, every year, the Critics' Choice Awards throw some kind of wrench at us. And it always happens in the acting category. Out of the 4 acting categories, they always go for something different than the Oscars end up going for in the end, or they go different than the award shows before them and after them, and they're kind of the outlier. Looking just at the last 2 years at where the differences lied between the Critics' Choice and the Oscars, last year it happened when Critics' Choice chose Paul Giamatti from The Holdovers instead of Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, which is who the Oscars ended up going with. Okay, so again, 1 out of 4 of the acting categories went different. The year before that, which was the year of Everything Everywhere All at Once, that's not what happened at Critics' Choice, at least when it came to the actress categories. So both actress in a lead role and actress in a supporting role went to different people than the Oscars ended up going for. So actress in a supporting role, and not only Critics' Choice, but a lot of the awards before that had gone to Angela Bassett for Wakanda Forever, Black Panther. That's who won Critics' Choice. However, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once ended up getting the Oscar. Cate Blanchett for the movie Tar got actress in a lead role at Critics' Choice. However, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once beat her in the Oscars. So where is the upset going to be this year when it comes to the acting category? I don't know. Let's talk through the first one, which is actor in a supporting role, because honestly, I think that to me, this might be where we end up seeing the upset. The nominees for Best Actor in a Supporting Role are Yuri Borsovo, Honora, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain, Clarence Macklin, Sing Sing, Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce, The Brutalist, Denzel Washington, Gladiator 2. All right, so 5 of these 6 ended up making it on in the BAFTAs. Yes, Denzel Washington did not get a BAFTA nomination again. He still has yet to get a BAFTA nomination. In his place, though, however, was Jeremy Strong from The Apprentice, who also got nominated for the Oscar, which if you guys have not watched The Apprentice, Holy cow, is he fabulous. And so is Sebastian Stan. I mean, both of them deserve that Oscar nomination. What a great movie and what great portrayals they did. I mean, him as Ray Cohn was amazing. And so, you know what? It's probably a good thing that he's not in the Critics' Choice kind of pool of things because I think we obviously know why Jeremy Strong didn't make it into the Critics' Choice nominations. I mean, if you think about it, it's, critics, journalists, people with online influence in film and television. However, as much as they're in Hollywood, they really don't want to piss off Trump. So they weren't about to put The Apprentice in many places, let alone in the acting category. So you know what? Jeremy Strong, you got the Oscar nomination, you got the BAFTA, you didn't make it into Critics' Choice. So you got Denzel Washington in there for Gladiator 2. He's not winning this. Kieran Culkin, I mean, predominantly the favorite. Yuri Bosovo, it's his first English movie. At least his name is getting out there. I mean, how fabulous that your first English movie, you're getting all of these accolades for. I mean, his future is super bright and up and coming. Okay, what about Guy Pearce? Guy Pearce is the one person that I think can beat Culkin, but I think he can only beat him at the BAFTAs. And even now, I don't know that that one is so certain that Guy Pearce can come in and do that. However, this would be the category that if there's going to be an upset, I can see there being an upset. And that would be Clarence Macklin beating Kieran Culkin, solely because people like the movie Sing Sing. They want to honor it. They can't give it to Coleman Domingo in Best Actor in a Leading Role because that is just way too stiff a competition, and he doesn't stand out that much compared to his whatever the fellow nominees that are out there. So he doesn't have a chance to win that. And I think people are upset that Clarence Macklin keeps getting kind of snubbed in the Golden Globes and he got snubbed with the Oscars. However, BAFTA did recognize Clarence Macklin. So good job, BAFTA, on that one. Okay, so do I go out on a limb, right? Because if we all end up picking the same thing, then we all tie, and we all know competition is my number one strength. And so I either have to go big or go home. So, okay, I'm going to predict Clarence Macklin to win this category and to be the one upset that Critics' Choice gives us every year. So if I'm wrong, of course, then Culkin's going to win it and Culkin's going to sweep everything else. But you know what? We'll keep our fingers crossed because who doesn't like surprises? You know that, guys, right? What's my favorite part of every awards and nomination ceremony? Snubs and surprises. Oh, yeah. So here's the one that I think will be the surprise. Maybe actress in a leading role, but not as much as I see the upset coming in here. So, okay, let's move on to actress in a supporting role. Okay, again, we kind of see the same nominees throughout all of the award shows. However, again, this is where the voting body really comes into play. Okay, nominees in this category are Daniel Deadwyler, The Piano Lesson, Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, Nickel Boys, Ariana Grande, Wicked, Margaret Qualley, The Substance, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. Awesome job, Critics' Choice, getting Daniel Deadwyler in there. You did it for her until, and you did it again for The Piano Lesson. Unlike the Golden Globes, who keep snubbing Daniel Deadwyler, which I don't understand. If you guys don't know how heartfelt I am about that, I'll link my short up there, and you can watch it about how I feel that the Golden Globes keep snubbing Daniel Deadwyler. But you know what? She got the nomination. That's great. The movie is good. I mean, I understand why the movie didn't get nominations, but I think Daniel Deadwyler probably deserves more accolades than she's been getting. Anjanou Ellis-Taylor finally gets a nomination. However, she's going to end up going down the road of people are like, oh, she's not in the movie enough, except for when she is in the movie, she has very powerful scenes and to me is way more memorable in her role in Nickel Boys than Isabella Rossellini is in Conclave, which I still do not completely understand why at under 8 minutes, Isabella Rossellini keeps getting all the nominations, including the Oscar nomination. And I don't judge people on the amount of time or dialogue that they are in a movie, right? You think about Anthony Hopkins, Silence of the Lambs, all of that, right? I mean, Judd Hirsch getting the supporting actor nomination for The Fabelmans, but he also had a lot more dialogue than Isabella Rossellini does for Conclave, but whatever. I don't know. I don't think she's winning. Margaret Qualley at least got in here because she did get snubbed for the BAFTAs, but she's not going to win Critics' Choice. So that takes it down to Saldana or Grande. Yes, they're both musicals, but I think when you look at it, Wicked is more the traditional musical, right? I mean, first off, even before the whole, Carla Sofia Gascon tweets and everything, Amelia Perez had its own controversy, right? A movie about Mexico, not made in Mexico, by a guy who can't speak English or Spanish. He can only speak French. So you know what? When it comes down to musicals, and the critics have to acknowledge the fact that Wicked is a critically acclaimed and critically loved movie. And you know what? I think just like the Oscars, if they don't know where to honor a musical, they end up honoring it in the actress in a supporting role category. And Ariana Grande deserves the win in this category. And again, hashtag Grande Oscar win. She's going to do it. I just believe in her and her entire performance. I do think it's going to be unfortunate, though, that if she ends up winning the Oscar, everyone's going to say that the only reason is because people didn't feel like they could vote for Amelia Perez because of the controversy. But yeah, okay, I digress again. We'll talk about that in our other video. But to me, it's going to be Ariana Grande with runner-up being Zoe Saldana. Actor in a leading role. This is another one where I saw someone sweeping, and I still see someone sweeping. I don't know. I just don't think that people can beat this first nominee. So the nominees for actor in a lead role are Adrien Brody, The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet, A Complete Unknown, Daniel Craig, Queer, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes, Conclave, Hugh Grant, Heretic. I don't think anybody's beating Adrien Brody for The Brutalist. I mean, I get it. People are like, oh, but A Complete Unknown's coming, so up and coming, and people love Timothy Chalamet. Well, you know what? James Mangold also did Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix, and he got nominated for a Critics' Choice and didn't win it. So you know what? I just don't think they love him enough to end up giving him the win when it comes to the Critics' Choice Award. Plus, I mean, literally, Adrien Brody is in 85% of a 3.5-hour movie. Okay, maybe a little less than that, but still, he's, in a majority of the movie, and it is so long. But, not to discount Timothy Chalamet. He does do his own singing and guitar playing and things like that. But let's be honest, I think that those are the only two that are even potentially in contention. So the other four, again, great job getting the nomination. Hugh Grant for Heretic did surprise me here because you know what? Sebastian Stan had two amazing roles this year, one in A Different Man, the other in The Apprentice, and he doesn't get nominated for either, which is crazy. And so minus Hugh Grant, I thought those other five were going to be our Oscar five, and they're not, right? Daniel Craig for Queer got completely snubbed at the BAFTA nominations, and he got snubbed for the Oscars. In his place, they did put Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice, so that part is at least good. But you know what? Honestly, Daniel Craig does one of his best performances in the movie Queer. But you know what? Not everybody can get nominated, so that's fine. He's nominated for the Critics' Choice. But I do see Adrien Brody winning, with Timothy Chalamet being the only one who could potentially beat him. Now, actress in a lead role. We have talked about this all of award season. This is the hardest, most competitive category of all of them. I don't even compared to picture all of them, this one is hands down the hardest. I will say that had Demi Moore not won the Golden Globe and gave the amazing speech she did, she would probably not be up as high on everyone's list as she is now. So, you all know I love Demi Moore, but when it comes to when voting ended in this voting body, who am I going to pick? Well, the nominees in this category are Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez, Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths, Angelina Jolie for Maria, Mikey Madison for Anora, and Demi Moore for The Substance. That list of nominees is absolutely flippin' fabulous. All of those women. Seriously, out of those women, 5 of them actually made the BAFTA list. The one that missed was Angelina Jolie because they hate Pablo Larraín. I'm going to say that that's the reason why Angelina Jolie didn't even make the long list, so whatever, BAFTA. They instead put in Saoirse Ronan for The Outrun, which, you know what? Okay, she was talked about early on and hasn't gotten anything. Throw her a bone with BAFTA, whatever. The Oscars, though, remember, they picked 4 of these ladies, and then the surprise pick was Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here, who, again, didn't even make BAFTA's long list. So that also is partly because supposedly BAFTA has kind of a thing against international performers, and well, maybe we're starting to see that. But that leaves us with our core four. However, you cannot forget about Marianne Jean-Baptiste. I mean, that woman in Hard Truth, phenomenal. Plus, it's Marianne Jean-Baptiste. I mean, everything she touches is gold, except for not a gold Oscar, which is unfortunate. You then have Angelina Jolie for Maria, who could end up surprising us all. I mean, critics, they do like her, and she hasn't been in anything that they've really been able to honor her for in quite a while. And you know what? Critics like Pablo Larraín's films, especially like his biographical, like, women in power films. I mean, let's think, Kristen Stewart and Spencer, Natalie Portman and Jackie. Those women went on to get nominations and win some of them. So could Angelina Jolie be our surprise upset of Critics' Choice? This would be the other category I could potentially see it in. I don't know. I mean, Marianne Jean-Baptiste could do it. Angelina Jolie could do it. I don't know, despite critics liking Mikey Madison's role in Honora, I think she's just too new. And I think, again, Honora just has that kind of stigma against it, right? Now, with the Golden Globes win and Demi Moore's speech, I think that people now are like, you know what, guys, we can honor the substance. Demi Moore's been around for 45 years. Like, she was amazing in the movie, no matter how gross the last third is. We gotta do it. Like, we gotta give it here. But then again, there's Cynthia Erivo in Wicked doing all of her own stunts, singing, everything like that. It could go that way. Carla Sofia Gascon was never going to get the win, like, not even before all the controversy. So where does that leave me with my picks? I mean, honestly, I chose my upset in actor in a supporting role when I went with Clarence Macklin, and I just got to believe that Demi Moore is going to win the Critics' Choice Award. I think she's going to also win the Oscars. I mean, we all know how I feel about her. I mean, I could not have been more on cloud nine that night when she won the Golden Globes. I mean, I put out that like 16-second short video. It was my first short ever, so I didn't really know what I was doing, but oh my God, was I excited. But you know what, guys? She does deserve it. And even in this category of all of these other amazing actresses, she does phenomenal in her role, and she can compete with the best of them. I think we're going to see her win this. We're going to see her win the Oscar. If, however, there was one person that maybe would compete with her in this category, I don't know, maybe Mikey Madison, but then again, any of those women besides Gascon could be the upset, except I can only pick one out of four of those acting categories to be an upset, and I already picked it with actor in a supporting role when I'm picking Clarence Macklin over Kieran Culkin. So, yep, I'm going to go with Demi Moore. However, if I was to choose an upset here, I would have to say the upset's going to be Marianne Jean-Baptiste. It's not going to be Mikey Madison. It's not going to be one of those like predictable popular ones that's getting all the accolades everywhere else. It's going to come in to people saying, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, you were great in Hard Truths, and it's not your fault that Bleecker Street sucks. That's the distributor of Hard Truths, and they did shitty on campaigning for their own movie and for her. And you know what? That is unfortunate. So that would be the only person I could see upsetting. However, I'm locked in and picking Demi Moore. That now brings us to Best Picture. And remember, guys, I said that the Globes, for the 29 years that they've been doing it, are the best barometer of picking the Oscars, especially when it comes to Best Picture, right? They've picked it 17 times. However, 8 times they have not matched on director and picture. I was actually contemplating that this year. I thought maybe this would be the 9th year where they pick a different picture than they do director. I don't know. I'm still toying around with it. Let's see where I end up after I read these nominations, because honestly, guys, in the last 2 hours, I've changed my mind about 3 or 4 different times. So the nominees for Best Picture are A Complete Unknown, Honora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, Sing Sing, The Substance, Wicked. Okay, like, I'm not joking, you guys. Like, even now, I'm still saying maybe I should switch my vote up. Because, again, I'm competitive and I'd rather go down big than tie with somebody. But I don't know. I mean, okay, A Complete Unknown has been getting recognition beyond what I ever thought it would get. And So it does have an all-star, stellar cast. I mean, Monica Barbero was just nominated for Best Supporting Actress for the Oscars. You have Edward Norton, who's nominated for an Oscar and Critics' Choice Best Supporting Actor. Timothy Chalamet getting nominated everywhere. James Mangold, I mean, he made the DGA list. He made Best Director. So at one point I was contemplating A Complete Unknown. Anora, one of the top 10 movies of 2024. However, I don't think that's going to sneak in. Sing Sing, no. Nickel Boys, no. I wish The Substance could get it. I mean, my heart would love that. However, I think that's too far of a stretch when it comes for Critics' Choice. Wicked, we all know my love for Wicked, 11 nominations. At one point, I was like, dude, Wicked's taking it. So they'll give, Brady Corbet, the director, they'll give Wicked, the film. Okay, I'm still kind of contemplating that one. I was never going to vote Amelia Perez, even though, I mean, that did win Best Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes, and the voting for Critics' Choice happened shortly thereafter. The Brutalist, though, won the Golden Globe for drama, and I do have Brady Corbet getting the win for director. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the 3.5-hour picture of The Brutalist. At this point, though, if I was to change my mind, I don't even know. Honestly, I'm kind of tied for my runner-up. It could either be A Complete Unknown or it could be Wicked. I mean, it's like neck and neck for me as to who could end up beating The Brutalist. But to me, those are the only two that could beat it. I mean, I love Conclave, and I picked Conclave when it came to BAFTA, but that's just because it's kind of a different thought process in my mind when it comes to BAFTA. But I don't think it's going to come close to being competitive in the Critics' Choice Award. So Brutalist, I've got winning with taking number 2, maybe beating it, either A Complete Unknown or Wicked. I would say at this point, if they give acting ensemble to Wicked, because A Complete Unknown wasn't an acting ensemble, which is surprising, I would have to put at this moment in time, Complete Unknown being the one film that could beat The Brutalist. However, I do have The Brutalist winning. There it is, gang. All 19 film categories that they're going to cover at the Critics' Choice Award live on Netflix this Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for 3 hours. It will cover film and television. I'll be watching the whole thing. I may even try to post live off and on during it if I can figure that out. Y'all know I'm technically challenged, but I'm trying. Otherwise, look for a reaction video to come out sometime after that. It is a crazy busy weekend though, right? I mean, we got flipping Critics' Choice Friday night. We've got Directors Guild, Producers Guild Saturday, and then we have the Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs, who are going for a three-peat, against the Bird team of the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl Sunday. I don't know how many of you guys are into the Super Bowl, but you know what? Busy weekend, but I do want to hear who you guys are predicting in some of these categories for Critics' Choice. And if you do watch the Super Bowl, let me know who you're picking for the Super Bowl win. I appreciate y'all joining, continuing to get the word out. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the little bell for notification. All of the films, all of the categories through my Oscar-obsessed ADHD point of view. Thanks for joining, and until next time.